Welcome to another National Preparedness Month discussion. I'm Greg Ramirez, Emergency Manager for Clackamas Fire. Today I'm joined by yet another good friend, Joe Becker. Joe is very active with issues concerning animals and disaster in our community, and today she's been kind enough to come to speak with us about some very important subjects. This is something that's near and dear to my heart. When I responded to the Katrina disaster, one of the things that was very disheartening was to see the number of animals that were left in the city. It seemed at that time there was really no mechanism, no resources in place to support people who had pets, and it made for some very unfortunate things. So fortunately, people like Joe are there to help us with the issues that we need to consider to make sure that our pets are safe and that we take the right steps to prepare for them in disaster. So Joe, what are some common things that might occur? What are some common disasters that might impact our pets?
Well, basically everything that impacts us affects the animals as well, whether they're pets or livestock, wildlife, service animals, assistance animals.
Sure.
I mean, whatever they are, if it's a large enough thing to affect our environment, it's going to affect the animals as well.
Sure.
There, you know the range of disasters that could happen, and we talk about preparedness month. It might be a large-scale disaster.
Right.
It could be a tornado. It could be a winter storm.
Right.
It could be man-made, chemical or biological or whatever.
Sure.
But statistically, one of the most common and most deadly disasters for people and animals is home and barn fires.
Right, and we've just had 2 barn fires here recently, so they are a common occurrence.
They are, and there's the statistics I've seen come from different sources, but there's actually a much higher rate of death of animals in home fires than people.
I would have never thought that.
The two sets of data don't come from the same place, so I'm not sure if I'm comparing apples
Sure.
to apples, but I have a few theories. I mean, a lot of us have more than one pet per
Right.
household. We leave and they don't often. They're
Right.
often home when we're at work or school or running errands or
Right.
whatever. They often hide when alarms go off or weather changes, and so it might be harder to find them. And then if say a fire alarm goes off, we're all thinking first about our human household
Correct.
members first, and then of course we love our animals too.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of reasons those numbers are really high. So
I would have never thought that.
doing everything the fire district talks about in terms of practicing and preparing for home safety in terms of fires and
Right.
barn safety will not only help your human household members, but your animals, your livestock as well.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I love talking with Jo because she always brings props. So, well, speaking of props, tell me about your flyer here.
Oh, yes. Well, we've talked about this before in years past for Preparedness Month. One of my favorite tips, and folks really like this, is the idea of creating a lost flyer now as part of your preparedness steps before you need it. Because when your animal's lost, whether it's a blue sky day, there's
Right.
no other disaster happening, but someone left the door or the gate open and now your animal's out, you don't want to spend time scurrying around trying to get the details and the pictures and print it and put it together.
Fantastic idea.
If you get separated from your animal during an incident within an incident, you get separated within the context of a larger disaster, you may not have power to bring up your pictures and create a flyer and make copies. So folks can go to my website and download a copy of the flyer template in Microsoft Word and plunk their own data and info and pictures in.
Great.
Ideally, run off a few copies, have a digital copy as backup, and depending on what the disaster is, you're ready to go.
Oh, that's fantastic advice. Okay, so when it comes to families, we talk a lot about building our 2-week disaster supply kit. What should we have ready for our pets?
Well, the sneaky little secret about animal preparedness is it goes along the same lines as people preparedness.
Okay.
So think of Maslow's hierarchies of needs.
Right.
You've got all the physical needs at the bottom of the pyramid of, food and water and shelter and that sort of thing. So your animals need their food, their water, if they require medication. So the same sort of things in terms of basics.
Easy enough. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Great. So what are some other things that we should be considering that with regard to our pets?
Well, one question I often get about food and medicine and that sort of thing is how much. And this goes back to something I hear you talk about in terms of preparedness all the time of how long should you prepare? Well, official advice is at least 72 hours.
Okay.
most emergency managers I know say at least 172 hours, and
That's right.
anything beyond that is, even better.
Of course.
That can become kind of a budgetary issue for most households.
I know it'd be for me, absolutely.
Yeah, and so I don't stress how much or how long so much.
Okay.
I really encourage folks to say whatever fits your overall life.
Okay.
As long as you're thinking about this, you're building some mental muscles that's going to help you in
Right.
respond to and survive and thrive after disaster, regardless of your provisions. If you have space to store it and strength to carry it and budget to buy it,
Right.
by all means get some provisions, and look at what your own animals eat and drink
Oh,
and
okay.
need in terms of medications on a daily basis, and multiply that on how many ever days or weeks you plan to prepare.
Okay.
And people always say, well, was there like a formula for water? Well, no, a horse is going to take a heck of a lot more than
That's
a
right.
dog. The last cat that I lost was diabetic. He probably could have outdrank your German Shepherd.
Oh, I'm sure.
So it's a very individualized assignment. So
Okay.
take a look at what your animal needs on a daily basis, multiply by how many days you can or are comfortable or
Right.
able to prepare, and then go with that.
Joe,
As a place to start.
That's great advice. So, what are some other things that you want pet owners to know? This is your opportunity. What should we know? Because I'm a pet owner, and I know I need to maybe do a better job than I'm already doing.
I think I'd also, beyond food, water, and medicine for provisions, think about containing, confining, transporting, and sheltering your
Okay.
animal. So, and those are different things. I could do kind of a whole day-long session on each of those.
That's right.
One is, this isn't really appropriate, but a collar, a leash, a harness, a halter,
Okay.
that sort of thing, with identification.
Right.
Not this loose, obviously. It's kind of by example.
Sure.
There's that. There's also kind of getting out the door. So in the moment, if you're evacuating out of say a second-story bedroom in a fire situation,
Right.
with a small household animal,
Mm-hmm.
you could in the moment toss them in a pillowcase.
Oh.
Hopefully you can hold on to it or have a zip tie near the
Right.
bed, and then scissors when you get
Okay.
out of the house.
Right.
But that's not an ideal
Just an
scenario.
emergency.
So there's products out there where you can it's a little more secure. It's more breathable. It's meant for that
Right.
sort of evacuation. So there's a matter of getting out of the house. There's a matter of being able to identify and with the leash kind of contain the animal.
Correct, because they'll be excited.
Yep. And then when you get wherever you're going, outside the house or outside of the community that's affected by the disaster,
Right.
sheltering them. And so if you've got large animals, do you have some portable panel fencing?
Right. To temporarily contain them.
Or cages or crates or whatever for smaller animals. Whatever kind of animals you have, be thinking about what you could use and
That's right.
find secondhand, or you have in the
What
garage
you
or the
can
barn
afford.
that you don't want to throw away.
Get creative.
Yeah, get creative. So that's one thing. I also think about identification. So the kitty here has a collar with an ID tag.
Okay.
Think redundancy with your preparedness and with identification as well. The flyer can really help.
I like that idea.
Yeah, because we've seen in large-scale disasters where unsavory folks have gone to emergency animal shelters and
Right.
cherry-picked the breed du jour to say, yeah, I'll take one of those. Well, yeah, that's mine. It's like,
Of
no,
course.
they're just shopping. So having a way to prove this is my animal and all the family members that might
right.
go to the shelter to claim the animals in that picture identified.
Okay. I didn't think of that. That's a good idea.
Obviously, other things like microchipping your animal. Be sure you register that chip.
Oh.
A lot of people think their veterinarian does it. They may or they may not.
I'm not certain that I've done that.
No, get on that, Greg.
I'm gonna have
This
to.
preparedness month, you need to do that, and keep it updated.
Okay.
If your phone number changes, if your conditions your animal has changes, if your veterinarian on file changes,
Right.
you need to change that with the microchip registration company. And one nonprofit group, FreePetChipRegistry.com, is trying to be kind of a clearinghouse of all the chips
very good.
for all the different brands. So if you find a lost pet and you
Okay.
scan them, you just have one place to look. There's also things like branding, and in the moment you can spray paint a phone number on a
Right.
hide. There's special tools for that, or you use what you have in the moment.
Okay.
People have different opinions about tattooing and
Right.
microchips and everything. I don't really care what people do, but do at least one thing and then think redundancy.
That's good
So,
advice.
Another thing with the livestock, you can get plastic chain and carabiner
Oh,
and put it
just a
over,
quick,
put
yeah.
it over the horse or the cow or the whatever's neck with a ID tag attached. So lots of different things you can do. Permanent, long-term, in the moment.
Sure.
As long as you've thought ahead to have this sort of thing, or a can of regular spray paint or safe
Safe spray paint, right.
on hand.
Great.
Yeah.
Joe, this is great advice. Again, this is a subject that's near and dear to my heart. One, because I'm a pet owner and I have a soft spot for animals, but also because I've seen firsthand what disasters can do to animals. So, Joe, thank you for the work you do. Thank you for taking time to speak with us, and join us again next time. Thank you very much.